Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Shore Sports Network Shore Conference Tournament 2024, Shore Conference Tournament bracket reveal. This is an interesting setup and night we have coming for you because we've never done this before. We have not done this before at Shore Sports Network, and the Shore Conference has not done this before. As a lot of you guys know, this was the first year that the Shore Conference Tournament went to the World Cup style play, where you had we had 11 groups this year, 4 teams per group. They all played through group play, and the top 2 teams from those groups all advanced, and then they played the conventional knockout round of the Shore Conference Tournament. Things are going to be a little different next year. We're going to talk to Josh Mell, the director of the tournament, the boys tournament, about some of the changes that are going to be part of next year's tournament that were not really in play this year. I mean, it's going to be the basic setup, the basic idea, but there are some key differences in the details. We'll go over those, and of course, you'll see what it looks like when the actual groups come out. We're going to start, though, with just a quick recap of what's going on this year. Of course, as most of you guys know, the state tournament's going on for the vast majority of teams. Unfortunately, the season is over, but there are some teams in the Shore Conference and, of course, around the state that are still playing. And after today's action, there are 5 public school teams still playing for championships. And it was a good day. It was a very tough quarterfinal round for the Shore Conference, but a very good Wednesday in the semifinals. We'll start in Group 4. I had a chance to go over to Howell High School and watch the Rebels take on Old Bridge in a physical game. Howell is pretty banged up right now. They were missing 2 starters in the game, but they played well. They were very good. They got 3 goals, a hat trick from Tyler Borenstein, who has played in the back most of the year, but pushed up today on the attack, got 3 goals, and the Rebels were sharp. They had to defend set pieces. Old Bridge was very dangerous on the set pieces, but they did manage to fight those off, get the shutout, a 3-0 win. They're going to the sectional final for the second time in 3 years. So very good accomplishment for the Rebels. They'll be at Princeton in the sectional final. Princeton is the number 1 seed. They have lost just 1 game all year. So Howell will have its hands full. But Howell did beat Princeton 2 years ago on penalties. It was a first-round game. It was a 4 versus 13 matchup where Howell went on the road and upset the Tigers in Princeton, and they'll have to do it again in order to win their first sectional final since 1988. That's right, 1988, the last time Howell has won a sectional title. Also in Group 4, Toms River North. I was not at that game, so I couldn't tell you as many details, but I can tell you that Anthony Ruggiero scored 2 goals in the first half, and Toms River North picked up a 2-1 win, and that was at Lenape. They are the 3 seed. They are going to the championship game, and they are in a sectional final for the 4th time in 5 years. Toms River North, I mean, they've been very good, even going back past head coach Joe Mahan's tenure as head coach, but they've been a very good team since he took over. But they did have a little bit of a lull, maybe in like 17, 18, where they didn't make much noise in the postseason. But ever since that 2019 team that went to a sectional final and won a sectional final as a 16 seed, they have been pretty much automatic in the state tournament. They won the whole thing in 2019 as the 16 seed. They won the modified section in the COVID year, 2020. They won another full-fledged, legitimate, if we want to call it, section in 2021. And then last year, with almost an entirely new starting lineup, they went to a sectional semifinal. So they're back in the sectional final this year. They'll go to Washington Township, who dominated Rancocas Valley today 6-0. Washington Township is going to be a formidable team, have a great program. They have not won a sectional title in a few years, so they're looking to reestablish themselves at the powerhouse. Toms River North has actually been the more recent powerhouse, but Washington Township is no joke. That's going to be a fun game down at their place in South Jersey as North goes for a 4th sectional title in 5 years. What a run it's been for them. So 2 teams still playing in Group 4, and then you go to Group 2. Also had 2 Shore Conference teams playing, but they were in the same section. First was Manasquan. They finished up first up at Governor Livingston, and that was a wild one. No score through 72 minutes. of that game, and then the last 8 was a free for all. Manasquan, the two teams traded goals for the last 8 minutes. It went to overtime, and I mean Manasquan wins an absolute wild one. They had a goal off a kickoff after after Governor Livingston tied it at 1. Christian Gonzalez scored off the kickoff to go up 2-1, and Manasquan ends up winning on a golden goal in the about 7 minutes into overtime. And the Warriors, they've been a high scoring team all year. They're back in the sectional final for the first time since 2018. So they'll have a go at it on Saturday against a familiar foe in Homedale. Homedale had to survive today also in overtime, 2-1. They topped Arthur L. Johnson, in a game that they led almost the whole way. It was 1-0, 5 minutes in, and they held on to that lead up until 5 minutes to go when Johnson caught him off guard, put one in, and all of a sudden it's going to overtime, but it did not last long. About a minute in overtime. Penalty kick. David Weiner finishes it off, and the Hornets are going back to the sectional final with a 2-1 win over Johnson. That's going to be on Saturday. We don't have times yet. There's some unofficial times being thrown around, but we'll have those for you either later tonight or tomorrow morning for Saturday's game. Homedale beat Manasquan during the regular season in overtime, 3-2. Very good game, high scoring game. Lots of chances that did not finish for either team, but it was still a 3-2 game that Homedale won in overtime. So it should be a fun Central Jersey Group 2 final. And then the last game today is Shore Regional still going on. Last update was a 2-1 lead for the Blue Devils in the final 10 minutes against Roselle Park. I have the game live streamed on the old NFHS app here. It does not have an updated score graphic, so I'm going by the last update I saw when the camera flashed to the scoreboard, which was 2-1 Shore with about 8 minutes to go. They're still going. That game is still being played. Shore Regional looking to win its second straight Central Jersey Group 1 championship after winning it all last year. They would play, if Shore holds on, they would play College of Chiefs Central, which is a charter school out of Plainfield. It is still 2-1 with under 2 minutes to go in West Long Branch for Shore Regional. So that's your update. We also have CBA still playing. They'll play Friday against St. Augustine in the sectional semifinals. That's in South Jersey non-public A. And St. Rose is still alive. They will be hosting Princeton Day. That is non-public South B, also on Friday. So those are two Shore Conference non-publics to watch out for at the end of the week. And after that, we'll have 3 local sectional finals, including two Shore teams in the Central Group 2 final. So that's your recap for the games today. And that's what we're looking like for the big finish in the sectional finals, the sectional semis, and the non-publics. And then hopefully we'll have some teams playing for group championships going into next week. We're going to take a quick break. I know everybody's here to see the big reveal. I just wanted to get you caught up on today's action, get you primed for the big 2024 reveal. We're going to bring Josh Mell on here and kind of get an idea of what the changes were. And then we're going to show you the teams and how everything fell. We're just going to take a quick break, and then we'll be right back. Stick around.
The right way to top a sub is with real red wine vinegar made from red grapes and no food coloring. And the right way to film it is in slow motion. Obviously. Because authentic ingredients make a sub above.
So check it. So many people come into the recovery lounge here and actually ask, what's the big difference between the infrared sauna and the traditional sauna that's sitting behind me here? There's really not a humongous difference in the actual benefits. It's really within the experience. So the infrared sauna is gonna be a lot milder of a heat. You're gonna be able to sit in there, converse with your friends, converse with whoever's sitting next to you. Where in the traditional sauna, it's gonna be a lot more of an intense heat. It might almost feel like you're getting put through a workout. You might actually be out of breath and reducing the fact that you might not be talking with that person next to you. So with the benefits though, you're gonna have a lot of the similarities. You're gonna have improved athletic recovery. A big one, improved cardiovascular health, improved stress, improved skin, and anti-aging benefits. While the experience may be different between these two saunas, the benefits are similar. The choice is yours.
Imagine if there was a pill that could strip fat off your body, elevate your mood, improve your emotional state, force oxygen into the core of your body and cause your liver, lungs, pancreas, kidneys, and brain to receive more oxygen and elevate your mood. You'd be taking that pill every day. And that's exactly what cold water immersion does.
Getting that perfect slice is satisfying, fulfilling, and rewarding too. But we don't do it for fun. We do it for fresh. Slice to order makes a sub above. Getting that perfect slice is satisfying, fulfilling, and rewarding too. But we don't do it for fun. We do it for fresh. Slice to order makes a sub above.
Welcome back. We have here Scott Martin, who is the head honcho at Shore Sports Network. He's going to be walking us through the big reveal, walking through the teams, and then I'll give some input once we get a look. Scott, just kind of tell us what's been going on at Shore Sports Network. Like what's it been like so far in the first few months?
Yeah, I've been just trying to, you guys have been doing this for a long time, so trying not to mess that up. That's the big goal. The number one thing, don't mess up something that's already good.
That sounds like the job description. That's what we've been doing for a while, hopefully.
Yeah.
All right, so we're gonna get to the big reveal. I guess we'll get right to it. And Scott, take it away.
All right, so we are going to start with the Group A for the boys. Just pulling it up. In Group A, the one seed is the Homedale Hornets. We've got the Toms River East Raiders, the St. Rose Purple Roses, the Ranny Panthers, and the Donovan Catholic Griffins.
Yeah, so this is interesting. One of the things about this year is the divisions are different this year. So you have different teams in A North, different teams in A Central. So Homedale is now an A North team. You don't really have any games in this, or any matchups in this group that are like traditional rivals. You will probably see that down the line. But in this one, yeah, you have, so Toms River East, they're going to have Bobby Calvo back in goal next year. That's a team that was really tough in this year's tournament, having a big keeper like that. They'll have a mix of players back. Homedale obviously is the name that catches everybody's eye, and they were the big story this year, having missed out on the tournament as a team that started the year number 2, and everybody assumed they would be a contender. And because of this format, they got put into what you might call the group of death, and they got bounced by Central in that on that last Saturday before the seeding. But they're going to be a little bit different team. They lose some good seniors. They are due to have Stepan Kapranov back. It's soccer. You never know who's going to make it to the roster next year because of academy commitments and college and all that. But if he's in the mix next year, they're going to be good. He's arguably the best player in the Shore right now as a junior, so he's the headliner in that group. And then you look down the line, St. Rose, a lot of seniors this year, so they may not be quite as good as they have been this year. Randy's got some youth, but kind of a longer way to go to get into that echelon where they're in the Shore Conference tournament. And then Donovan Catholic's been a rebuilding program. They're young, so they should be improved. I look at this and one of the things to remember this year, and we're going to talk about this with Josh Mell when he comes on in the next segment, is as you notice, there are 5 teams in the group this year versus 4 teams last year. And this next year, when we get to this tournament, it's going to be the top 3 seeds going on to the onto the knockout round. So you're gonna have 27 teams in the mix there. So interesting group. I think you'd have to still consider Homedale the favorite, even though there's going to be some uncertainty. You never know what these teams are going to look like. But Toms River East, I think you have to like the draw if you're Toms River East and St. Rose, given that Homedale will have just a little bit of uncertainty. But yeah, not a group that strikes me as the group of death, though. But anyway, that's enough of A. I've gone on enough about Group A. I'll try to keep it quicker on these these dissections.
I'll save this for more for Josh to go over. But in case anybody is wondering, the way that they did do it was they built out the seedings themselves, and then there was a random number generator that then created the groups. So everybody got their seedings 1 through 5. And then the groups were created after that. Yeah,
that's correct. So you're seeded based on your PowerPoint. So there are going to be 9 groups, 9 1 seeds, and those teams are all ordered by your PowerPoints from the last 2 years. And then once out of those 1 seeds, it's a random draw. So Homedale being with Toms River East, being with St. Rose, they're all on the same seed line that they would have been on, but getting paired with one another is random, essentially. So Homedale's a 1 seed, East was a 2 seed, St. Rose a 3, and on down the line, Randy 4, Donovan Catholic 5, and but they were randomly put together.
All right, on to Group B. So Group B, we've got CBA, the Colts, the number 1 overall seed, Middletown South Eagles, Manchester Hawks, St. John Vianney Lancers, and the Monmouth Regional Falcons.
Yeah, no surprise that CBA is number 1. They've 3-time champs, 13-time overall champs. They'll be a 3-time defending champion going into next season, which will be the first time that's happened.
And last week's Jersey Mike's Team of the Week.
Not sure they have cashed in on that gift card yet. But I got a text from a baseball coach today who they just used their gift card today. So they last for a while. But if you have seniors on your team, you should probably do that the same year. Just a recommendation. Anyway, back to the Group B. So this is what I was talking about. CBA and Middletown South, traditional A North rivals. I mean, Middletown South's the first Shore Conference team to beat CBA since the beginning of last year, and the only Shore Conference team to beat CBA this year. And here they have each other in the same group. But of course, they won't be in A North together next year. So it'll make for a really good rivalry game in group play. And it's probably, you're probably looking at the group being on the line when those 2 teams play. However, St. John Vianney is the team to watch next year. They don't have a lot of seniors. They had a very good season this year. Won Class B Central. I think everybody kind of I know talking to coaches, sometimes I tell them that St. John Vianney actually won the B Central championship, and they're surprised because St. Rose has had such a good year, but Vianney is the B Central champion this year. They've got a lot of guys coming back. They'll be the division favorites going into next year, and they're going to be interesting. I would put them as one of the teams that I think you'd expect to advance out of this, even though they're the number 4. Manchester's got some players back, but they lose their single season goal scoring leader now, Joey Kurak, who is a senior. But they had a good year. Won a division co-title. And so this is a pretty good group. Monmouth Regional, young team, but a young team that did advance this year. So you have Monmouth Regional advance to the Shore Conference knockout this year. Middletown South advanced, CBA advanced, both top 10 teams. Manchester co-division champion and St. John Vianney a division champion. So there's a lot of accomplishment in this group. So definitely one to watch. I don't want to call it a group of death yet, but if you have CBA in your group, you're automatically hanging on by a thread. But it's interesting. CBA is going to be graduating some talent this year. They only start 2 juniors, so it could be a year where next year might be a year to get them.
Yeah.
It might be a year to get them. We'll have to see how it shakes out. But if it's a year to get them, I don't think it's a year to knock them out in group play. I think they'll be okay there. But there are some viable teams in this group. So it should be an interesting one. I like this group's very interesting. Color me interested.
All right, on to boys Group C. We've got the Howell Rebels at number 1, the Central Regional Golden Eagles at number 2, the Shore Regional Blue Devils, Brick Green Dragons, and the Red Bank Regional Bucks.
Another really interesting one. Well, the first thing that jumps out is Howell and Central are in the same group again. That was the group of death this year. That was Howell, Central, Homedale, Manchester. Those were 4 very good teams to be in the same group as one another. Central is going to lose a couple seniors, but they do have some young talent. I wouldn't expect them to fall off much next year, if at all. I think they're still going to be in the mix in that A South race, which means they're going to be a pretty viable team here. Howell might be the tournament favorites. As good as CBA has been, and as much as you have to respect what they've done as a program, churning through players, graduating them, replacing them. Howell's got 6 junior starters, and those 6 juniors are key on their team. And you kind of saw them today. They had some guys banged up, and they just kept running guys in there who contributed. So Howell might be the favorite next year, and they're not an easy draw. It's not an easy draw for them, and it's certainly not an easy draw for the other teams. I mean, Central's good, and then there's Shore, which is another young team, just finished up a 2-1 win over Roselle Park, rather, to advance to the sectional championship in Central Jersey 1. That's a team with some championship pedigree too. And so it's going to be tough for Red Bank and Brick, both of whom I think are going to be pretty excited about next year with what they have coming back. Red Bank in particular is interesting. Dave Santos took that job, and he's been, he did really, really special things with the Marlboro program. He's been an assistant at CBA, and I think the expectation is that it's not going to be long before Red Bank is a very tough team to beat in the short conference. How long it takes for that project to really fulfill its potential remains to be seen. But coming out of this group is not going to be easy. Having to deal with Howell and Central and Shore, Brick has been pesky to end the year. Tough, very tough group. Another tough one. Group C might. I wouldn't be surprised to see this one be the toughest when we get to the end.
All right, moving on to boys Group D. We've got the Toms River North Mariners at number 1, the Freehold Township Patriots, the Toms River South Indians, the Matawan Huskies, and the Point Beach Garnet Gulls. Yeah,
well, right. The 2 teams at the top jump out, obviously, as they would in most groups, but they're especially interesting for me because they had some battles a couple years ago. They played one another in the Shore Conference semifinals. As I look at their former coach outside there, Josh Mell, who was the coach of Freehold Township during those years, had some great battles that year in 2001. Toms River North got him in the Shore Conference semis, and then Freehold Township got him back in penalties in the state tournament. It'll be interesting. Toms River North's going to be very good again next year. Freehold Township this was the first year they've been under 500 in like 20 years. But I would expect them to be back next year with more experience. They did not have a lot of starters back next year. So it was a tough year for them, but I would still expect them to be in the mix. Toms River South, very junior heavy team, should be better next year. Matawan also has some key guys who will be back next year, and Matawan and Toms River South were in the same group in this year's Shore Conference tournament. And you have Point Beach, who's a Group 1 school, very, very young. I think they're probably a couple years away from really hitting their peak with this particular group. But there may be some room to make some noise in this group for them too. But when you're talking about Toms River North and Freehold Township and Toms River South, those are some big programs, and that's a tough road to sled for the likes of Matawan and Point Beach. But they have enough back to keep it interesting.
All right, moving on to Group E. Group E starts out with the Long Branch Green Wave. Southern Regional Rams pulled a 2 seed. Ocean Township Spartans at number 3. The Brick Memorial Mustangs and the Asbury Park Blue Bishops.
Yeah, this is an interesting one because Long Branch, I think they'll have a pretty good team next year, but I think the number 2 seed is probably the favorite in this. Southern has a lot of talent back, very junior and sophomore heavy. They went right down to the wire in the A South race and lost a tough game to Jackson. But I like what they have coming back next year. I think they're number 5 in our rankings now, and I think they're probably going to be in that range to start the year without making any commitments. So I like Southern in this group, and then Ocean. Ocean is always a quality. I'm kind of surprised to see them in the 3 seed line. They're the kind of program you expect to see with the 2s. Maybe not quite the 1 seed these days, but they seem like they're probably a very strong number 3. I wouldn't be surprised if they were right on that 2-3 border if we broke it down. Brick Memorial is a team that played a lot of teams tough this year. And then Asbury Park, you don't know. I mean, like, there are years where they run out a team where you're just like, oh, we didn't know this was coming. They run out a bunch of guys who are really good on the ball and can beat you once they get rolling. So yeah, first thing that jumps out is Southern is a team I really like next year, and I like those top 3 teams are probably going to be the teams that advance, but I think figuring out who's going to win it is going to be interesting, and I think Southern is in pretty good position.
All right, moving on. Group F. The Point Borough Panthers pulled the 1 seed. The Middletown North Lions, the Lacey Lions, the Freehold Borough Colonials, the Barnegat Bengals in the 5 spot, and the Keyport Red Raiders in the 6 spot.
Well, this is our 6-team group. It's funny because there were 11 groups last year and 45 teams, which means, of course, there was one group that had to have 5 teams while the rest of them had 4. If that was the format, again, this year, there would have been 2 5-team groups, but because they shrunk to 9 groups instead of 11, now there's still 1 group that's going to have an extra team. And for the second year in a row, that extra team is Keyport. You also have Barnegat in there. Both those teams coming off of challenging years in their own right. Both really young. Keyport's had a young team, it seems like, for several years now. And Barnegat's going to have some good talent coming back next year. I think they'll be more competitive. Same goes for Freehold Borough, working our way up. I think they can probably compete for one of those top 3 spots this year, along with the top 3. Another group, I like the number 2 seed as the favorite. I mean, Middletown North has a lot of junior talent coming back. They had a lot of talent coming back this year, so they're not going to be as experienced next year. But, traditional A North team. They won't be an A North next year, but that's a good group. And then Point Borough, Point Borough is going to be an A South team next year. They're going to have a very tough division schedule relative to what they're used to. But I think this group is manageable for them. They play Lacey. Point Borough is a good rivalry from B South, but they're in different divisions next year. So they'll reprise their rivalry in the Group F group play in what should be a fairly wide open group. I think this could go a couple different ways with Middletown North, the tentative favorite.
All right, moving on. We got Group G. Number 1 is the Marlboro Mustangs, followed by the Wall Crimson Knights. This is the actual newcomer here. This is right. The 6th team. The New Egypt Warriors, newcomer to the Shore Conference next year. The Neptune Scarlet Flyers, and the Pinelands Wildcats. Yeah,
put the new in New Egypt. They're a Group 1 team, so again, it's kind of surprising to see them on the 3 line. I would liken them to kind of a Point Beach. Point Beach is sitting in a 5 spot. New Egypt's in a 3. So I don't know how that plays around with how the teams get lined up. But Neptune and Pinelands both coming off down years for them. Neptune, I think the only reason they're off the 5 line is because last year in 2022, they were very good, but they lost a lot of talent, changed head coaches, and they're going to lose some more experience going into next year. So I think that makes this a good draw for a Marlboro and a Wall. I think you could pretty much bank on those 2 teams. Marlboro, a traditionally strong A North team. Wall's always competitive, always in the mix in the state tournament, and always a very tough out in the Shore Conference tournament. I think those 2 teams, you got to feel like they're virtual locks in this group. But I'd say Pinelands is a team that could take advantage of this. I think they're a young team this year. They made some strides. I think you got to like this draw if you're Pinelands, and we'll see. And we get to see what New Egypt's made of. It's really exciting to see what they're going to bring to the Shore Conference. We've gotten to see them in the state tournament from time to time, but we'll see what they can do next year.
All right, moving on. We got 2 groups left for the boys. So we've got Group H. Leading off with the Rumson Fairhaven Bulldogs, followed by the Jackson Memorial Jaguars, the Manalapan Braves, the Lakewood Piners, and the Henry Hudson Admirals.
Yeah, so there's already some crossover from this past year. Rumson and Lakewood shared a group last year, and it was really the only game that Lakewood didn't either win or almost win. Rumson beat them 4-1. Lakewood was good this year. They gave Homedale a game in the Coaches Cup. They were a dominant team in B South once they got their whole team together. Again, it's one of those teams where you have to see what guys get on the field. There's just a lot going on. Talking to Gene Drumright, their coach, a lot of years you have guys who have jobs and there are all kinds of off the field stuff that guys have to overcome to get on the field and to have a full team. But it's a fun team. I always like going to check out Lakewood. They've got some guys who can play, and they've been a fun team this year. It was a shame they didn't make the state tournament because I thought they could have made some noise, even in Group 4, which I'm not sure how they ended up in Group 4, but good year for them. Manalapan, always a strong, not an A North team next year, which is interesting. And Rumson Fairhaven that's going to take some getting used to for the old schoolers, or somewhat old schoolers like me. Jackson Memorial, A South, tough team. Manalapan and Jackson Memorial in the same group that's going to be a battle for a team like Rumson, having to go through both those teams. Those are traditionally very physical, tough teams to play. So Rumson's going to have their hands full in that group. They have a pretty good team coming back, though, the Bulldogs. So I would expect them to be the tentative favorite there. Manalapan's got, I think, 19 seniors, so they're going to look a lot different next year. Jackson's pretty senior heavy, so there's going to be a new look for a couple teams in this group, and Rumson should be able to take advantage. But again, we're sitting here in November of 2023 talking about a tournament that will be decided in about 11 months. So a lot of soccer and a lot of other stuff to be decided.
Before we move on, I do have to throw out for Jackson, props to one of our camera guys, Peyton Collmore, plays for the Jackson Jackson Jags.
Yes,
got some games for us.
Peyton's great. I still apologize for missing his goal when I went to go see them against Wall. He asked me, and I said, "I'm sorry, I missed it. It happened too quickly."
Yeah, he's done some.
He's better. He's better than I am.
All right, so moving on to the last group for boys, we've got Group I. Leading off, the Manasquan Warriors pull the 1 seed, Colts Neck Cougars, Jackson Liberty Lions, the Raritan Rockets, and the Red Bank Catholic Casey's.
Well, here you have a rivalry. It's Manasquan Colts Neck. They went down to the wire in the B North race this year. They played a 5-3 game. Two teams that scored a lot of goals and gave up a lot of goals this year. And who knows if that's going to be the case next year, but both have a lot of guys coming back, or at least some key guys coming back. Colts Neck's got almost the whole team coming back, and they've got a little gap to close when it comes to, Hal and CBA. But with the talent they have coming back, they could be a very interesting team in this tournament. And Manasquan's going to be the same thing. They've got some guys who can play, who are set to come back, good set of juniors and sophomores. So Manasquan remains a team to watch next year. Colts Neck might be among the favorites by the time we get to September of 2024 and certainly into the tournament. And then, Raritan, I thought, had a good year, had a tough exit in the state tournament, but was very tough in the short conference. They were another team that did not benefit from their draw in this tournament this year, having to play against St. Rose and Manasquan and Freehold Township, but they got a win over Freehold Township and almost got in. So they'll have Manasquan in their group again. And then, Jackson Liberty, they just had kind of some poor timing going into A South this year because they graduated so much from 2022. So they'll be a more experienced team next year than they were this year. Red Bank Catholic's got a lot of making up to do. They did get a win this year. And, they were at the bottom of their group this year. So you would anticipate they'll be projected to be at the bottom next year. But you never know. It's a private school. Things can change so quickly with guys going there. You never know. But looking at this, that Manasquan Colts Neck battle is going to be fun. And Raritan is always interesting. Raritan can make some noise. They play people tough. So if Jackson Liberty brings it next year, that could be an interesting play for number 3 in that group.
Yeah, I know Scott Stump in football like to do that. The all name list. Raritan's got the Andrew Badalamenti.
Yeah. Oh, there's always a few all name teams, and soccer tends to have. Manasquan also has Jorge Cruz.
Oh yeah.
One Cruz is not enough.
No, not enough.
Never enough.
All right. So before we cut to the break, I do want to just say, coming into Shore Sports Network, we have some of our sponsors that make all of this possible. Jersey Mike's always comes through clutch. People have asked me, Jersey Mike's is like legitimately a good company. Like if anybody's ever met the CEO, he actually cares about the Shore Conference community. So it's a big thanks to Jersey Mike's. We've got Thrive Spine and Sports Rehab out of Belmar, doing a lot for the community. Iron House Performance Center over in West Freehold. They work a lot with some of the Homedale athletes, Colts Neck athletes. It's like a private setting, so Ant does a great job over there. And then and Brielle Orthopedics has been around for supporting us for a long time. So with all the changes coming in, it's just really appreciated that they're sticking with us, and they're allowing us to grow and do the things that we want to do. Like this is all possible because of them.
Yeah, sounds like their own little group.
Yeah, that's their group. Yeah,
Group J.
Jersey Mike's.
Yeah.
All right, so we will cut the break, and we're going to bring back Josh Mell and Nick Lowe's in the house for girls soccer as well for the girls group reveal. Be back shortly.
Getting that perfect slice is satisfying, fulfilling, and rewarding too. But we don't do it for fun. We do it for fresh. Slice to order makes a sub above.
Whatever you want to do.
So check it. So many people come into the recovery lounge here and actually ask, what's the big difference between the infrared sauna and the traditional sauna that's sitting behind me here? There's really not a humongous difference in the actual benefits. It's really within the experience. So the infrared sauna is going to be a lot milder of a heat. You're going to be able to sit in there, converse with your friends, converse with whoever's sitting next to you. Where in the traditional sauna, it's going to be a lot more of an intense heat. It might almost feel like you're getting put through a workout. You might actually be out of breath and reducing the fact that you might not be talking with that person next to you. So with the benefits though, you're going to have a lot of similarities. You're going to have improved athletic recovery. A big one, improved cardiovascular health, improved stress, improved skin, and anti-aging benefits. While the experience may be different between these two saunas, the benefits are similar. The choice is yours.
Imagine if there was a pill that could strip fat off your body, elevate your mood, improve your emotional state, force oxygen into the core of your body and cause your liver, lungs, pancreas, kidneys, and brain to receive more oxygen and elevate your mood. You'd be taking that pill every day. And that's exactly what cold water immersion does.
Getting that perfect slice is satisfying, fulfilling, and rewarding too. But we don't do it for fun. We do it for fresh. Slice to order makes a sub above.
Welcome back, everybody. We have a guest before we get to Josh Mell, and he is the junior striker of the Hal Rebels. It's Nick Turturro. And Nick, I wanted to talk to you because I think you guys, good chance you might be the favorites going into next year's tournament, but I'm guessing you're not thinking about teams like Central, Shore, Brick, and Red Bank Regional because you guys have another team to think about on Saturday in Princeton after you guys won today against Old Bridge. And I just wanted to get your thoughts about playing in a sectional final again. I know you got a chance to jump into varsity last year as a sophomore, so getting to play in a sectional final, this will be even though it's the second time in 3 years for Hal, it'll be a first for you and a lot of your junior teammates.
Last year making it to the semis was huge for us. Me being a sophomore, it was just a completely new feeling that I'd never had. But we unfortunately we couldn't get the job done and make it to the finals and even get a chance. But I'm really excited to see what we got on Saturday.
What's been the talk about Princeton so far? You guys just got through Old Bridge. It was a pretty physical game. Uh, have you guys had a chance to talk much about anything about Princeton? Even in just some of the talks, they're the number one seed, so I'm sure you guys have thrown around some ideas about what they are. They have one loss, but do you have any preconceived notions going in?
I mean, obviously, seeing they only have one loss in the year is a little bit intimidating, but we're always up for any challenge. And um, I play a lot of games. We don't do as many, so anything can happen. Two versus one. It's just the way the game goes. We're really worried about ourselves right now with our injuries and everything, and seeing how
Yeah.
that goes. But I think no matter the opponent, we're going to give it everything we got.
Yeah, two starters out today, a few other guys limping off. It's that time of year. That's what your coach Rich Euro was saying. Just it's that time of year. A bunch of teams are going through it. But I thought it was a pretty encouraging game today with guys out. Guys stepped up. You don't know how some of these guys are going to play, but I thought you had a lot of guys step up today. Tyler Bornstein obviously comes up and scores 3 goals.
Yeah,
But it was one of those games.
yeah. I mean, we made it work with what we had. There was even when Ty went out hurt, I didn't even know he was hurt. Uh, I went and looked back and saw him limping off, and I was like, all right, here we go again,
Yeah,
another
Ty
injury.
Mazur. Yeah, yep.
Yeah. So we moved everybody around. We made it work. We fought right to the end, and that's all you could ask for.
Yeah, and it's a great anytime you get to a sectional final, it is a great year, but it's got to be pretty fun. The Euro hasn't won one; he's been to a few of them in his 30 years there, and it should be a fun game. What do you think about what's been the talk about like this short conference format? You guys came out as a group winner this year in a very tough group, having to play Central in a game that was pretty close into the second half. You guys played a tie against Homedale, who didn't even make it out of the group. And looking at this group next year, it's going to be pretty. Shore's going to have a good team next year, and you guys are paired with them. Central should be pretty good again. RBR, didn't make it this year, but they're gonna. It might take another couple years. I don't know how long it's gonna take, but as long as Dave Santos is there, they're gonna be good at some point.
Yeah.
And then, Rick, so what is the talk about something like this? I know you have a bigger fish to fry for now, but what do you think, especially with a team with so many juniors? What do you think about this?
Yeah, I mean, it's a new format. I know the guys, like, we were actually talking about it, seeing the reveal. Um, Seeing a couple of the teams this year, we know what they're capable of, but obviously guys are going to step up next year. Guys are going to graduate. Same goes for us. But our junior class that we have now, we're ready. Like, we've been playing with each other for our entire lives. So I think we're only going to get better and stronger.
And last one before I let you go, how have you guys avoided the trap of saying we're juniors, we'd like to win, but we know we have another year left to do it? How have you avoided, even going back to last year, how have you avoided falling into that trap of leaning on the extra year that you guys have together and doing so well this year?
Yeah, so I think last year, just because it was mostly me and Ty playing as sophomores and thinking, well, we still have 2 more years. It's always in the back of your mind, but you don't just want to win it for yourselves. You want to win it for the guys around you and for the school. Nothing's ever guaranteed. You never know what could happen with injuries and everything like that. So we make the most out of what we have, and we give it everything we got because we have nothing to lose.
Yeah. And you do have a good group of seniors. It's not like you're just a bunch of juniors running around with no seniors. A very good group of seniors at Hal who will go out on Saturday and try to bring home a sectional title for the first time in 35 years. My goodness, it's a long time, almost as long as I've been around this place. Nick, thanks so much for the time. Appreciate you jumping on with us, and good luck on Saturday.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
All right. We'll take a break and be back with Josh.
The right way to top a sub is with real red wine vinegar made from red grapes and no food coloring. And the right way to film it is in slow motion. Obviously. Because authentic ingredients make a sub above.
So check it. So many people come into the recovery lounge here and actually ask, what's the big difference between the infrared sauna and the traditional sauna that's sitting behind me here? There's really not a humongous difference in the actual benefits. It's really within the experience. So the infrared sauna is gonna be a lot milder of a heat. You're gonna be able to sit in there, converse with your friends, converse with whoever's sitting next to you. Where in the traditional sauna, it's gonna be a lot more of an intense heat. It might almost feel like you're getting put through a workout. You might actually be out of breath and reducing the fact that you might not be talking with that person next to you. So with the benefits though, you're gonna have a lot of similarities. You're gonna have improved athletic recovery. A big one, improved cardiovascular health, improved stress, improved skin, and anti-aging benefits. While the experience may be different between these two saunas, the benefits are similar. The choice is yours.
Imagine if there was a pill that could strip fat off your body, elevate your mood, improve your emotional state, force oxygen into the core of your body and cause your liver, lungs, pancreas, kidneys, and brain to receive more oxygen and elevate your mood. You'd be taking that pill every day. And that's exactly what cold water immersion does.
Getting that perfect slice is satisfying, fulfilling, and rewarding too. But we don't do it for fun. We do it for fresh. Slice to order makes a sub above.
Welcome back. We've got the boys tournament director, Josh Mell, here. If you are privy to what we've done earlier this year, we had Josh on talking about this year's tournament. So we're going to have him on to talk a little bit about what next year is going to look like. And I guess the first question, Josh, is what were some of the critiques that led to the changes this year? The main changes being you have 5-team groups instead of 4-team groups. 3 are going to get through to the next round instead of 2. So you're going to have 27 teams in the knockout versus 22. What were that and other things? What sort of went into these changes?
Yeah. So again, thanks to you, Scott, for having me on. I think the big thing was that, the first time you're doing something, right? We talked about this. It's definitely a work in progress, right? And one of the things, again, being a former coach is getting the feedback from the coaches and hearing what they like, what they didn't like. The feedback overwhelmingly was positive throughout the entirety of the tournament and the process. But the main feedback was, no wild cards because it's too subjective. And we didn't do that this year, obviously.
Right.
That was,
there was thought that maybe in addition to the 22 teams that did get in, maybe you throw another team in there based on the fact that they tied or that they had some sort of, external adversity that maybe, or in some cases, this team's too good to not make it, like a home bell.
And right. Listen, there were a few teams in that category this year, and you want the best teams in the tournament, right? And that's something that we want as tournament directors, ADs, obviously coaches. We want the best teams. We want the best tournament possible. So the main feedback that people wanted was 5 teams in a group, just to have one more game, and they wanted the top 3 to come out of those groups. So that's what we did. Yeah. We're going to go 27-team field, no wild cards. And anybody who doesn't qualify for the short conference tournament will qualify for the coaches.
And a 27-team field is more representative of like the short conference tournaments past than a 22-team. You typically would get like 25 to 29 teams in most years. So 27's like pretty much in that sweet spot.
Yeah.
Yeah. I guess I wanted to ask, so tell me about the seeding and the PowerPoints and drawing up what made you want to go into more of a random draw where you have 9 1 seeds, 9 2 seeds, 9 3 seeds, mm-hmm. and 4 or 5, so on, and then you're the random draw. And I mean, I don't know how much you want to get into this, into a subjective commentary like this, but like one thing that surprised me is Point Borough is among the 1 seeds.
Yeah.
When you have like Middletown North's had 2 very good years in a row. Colts Next has won 2 division titles in a row. Mm-hmm. Like, how do you think it ended up? How did it play out where the teams we saw in these spots ended up in those spots?
Yeah, I mean, the biggest thing is that, we don't, coaches know their teams, coaches who go and scout and see other teams and they know these teams. And there's a lot of really good teams in the short conference, right? So that's never been debatable. But the main component here is you can't go off the eye test. There has to be metrics. There has to be data. It can't be subjective, right? So, one of the things that we didn't want to get into, the other thing that coaches didn't want, which, I fundamentally agree with too, is you don't want to play teams in your division in these groups.
Right. Yes.
Right. So was there a way to do it? How do you do that with now adding a fifth team into that group? So we did it a lot like FIFA does with the World Cup, right? And we made pots where you had your number 1 seeds, your 2 seeds, your 3 seeds, your 4 seeds, and your 5 seeds. So those teams were all grouped separately. The PowerPoint totals, the 2-year average of PowerPoints, when you look at those formulas, those were the top 9 teams. And then you had your next, 10 through 18 and so on and so forth. So they were grouped accordingly that way. And now going to a 3-team field coming out of the group stages, the fact of the matter is, no matter what, even if you qualify for the tournament, you still have to beat a good team.
Yes.
But if you get in, you deserve to get in. So when we drew the numbers coming across, one of the things I think that coaches also wanted to see and that we wanted to see is you don't want to see the same teams yearly in groups, right? You want to have it be different. You want to have it be kind of unique each year. Now going to a 2-year schedule where you're going to be locked into your division schedule for 2 years. You want to have maybe.
And there's only so much you can do with that, because like you're already trying to avoid division opponents, and now you're talking about avoiding back-to-back years of pod opponent or.
And listen, they're right. Like as you and Scott pointed out, there's a couple teams that you're going to find some overlap in the groups, but it's not many.
No.
And so we drew the number 1 seeds at random, and then the 2 seeds at random, and the 3 seeds at random, and 4 and 5. And when we got into certain, there really, ironically, was only 3 instances where you need to slide one person to the left and one person to the right, because that's the divisional opponent matchup and things like that, which again everybody wanted. So it really wasn't that difficult to do. It was just making it more akin to FIFA and UEFA and doing it the way soccer is really done worldwide. And I think we've done, something really, really unique in the short conference that again, I think, we're kind of the model for the state.
So I'll give you my reaction to this. I guess my critique of it is, and I'm like the non-feeling, like neutral observer. Like I don't care if the kids don't get to make the short. I watch this every year. So like, and I have to remind myself, like, these guys are only getting to do this like 1 or 2 years. Most of them, maybe some of them get to play 3 years, 4 years of varsity, but they all, they only get one shot at this. So if you miss the short conference tournaments, like, oh my God, it's a big miss. So I'm looking at it as like the non-feeling person who's looking at this, like, all right, you had these 4-team groups. Like, this is awesome. Like, these group games are meaningful. So like, you could be a good team like Homedale and get knocked out, which is what like the World Cup is. Was there any balance or concern, like, going from the 4-team groups where it is like FIFA, it is like the World Cup, not to play like the everybody gets a trophy card, but did enough people like say things like, well, you can't have this team miss. We won a division, or we can't. How do we not make it this year? Was the push really strong to kind of placate those teams and say, like, you're right, we need to get more of those teams in, versus wanting to keep like what it was, which was the group, a World Cup style, 2 teams in, 2 teams out, go get them. If you lose, you go home.
Yeah, listen, I think there's a lot of validity on both sides. I don't think there was necessarily a really overwhelming push to really move to 5 or 4. Like, I think it was definitely more to the 5 side.
Yeah,
right?
That sounds like that's
what.
And
what
again,
coaches
27
wanted.
teams is about what you see most years. So as much as it doesn't look like a World Cup, it does look like a short conference tournament, which is what this is.
Yeah, and I think there's a lot of you're weighing tradition, and like traditionally going back 20 years ago, it was division winners got in, and then you seeded everybody else, and there were 16 teams in. So there's a lot of pros and cons on both sides. I think with 27, you're looking at a situation where you get a team that's 7-1-1, and they're not getting excluded when they could definitely be in there. And you have a team playing for a sectional championship. So it was more to the point of, if you were at 22 and you're looking at a very, very specific criteria, which will still exist for next year, you couldn't, at 22, you really couldn't pick and choose, right? Who should get in, where maybe a team was tied for second place, but then lost in goal differential and criteria and really wasn't the second place team versus a third place team that was really, really good.
Yes.
And when you sit in that committee room at the seating time, a lot of people were like, damn, that team's really good. And you're like, I don't disagree with you, but they didn't make the tournament. So I think adding those 5 teams, it's very similar to the NCAA tournament, right? In men's and women's basketball, where you have those play-in games, right? Or those teams that kind of qualify, and they're like the bubble teams that get in. But I think the one thing that you'll see that's different this year is the way teams are scheduled, right? Certainly if I'm coaching, I might, and I'm a 1 or 2 seed in my bracket, right? In my group, I might not want to play that 1 or 2 seed right off the bat. Maybe I want to play that as the last game.
Yeah.
And we could see some really, really exciting games. Like there was several games the last week where winning you're in, losing you're out, and I think that's the excitement of it, because that still exists in the format, and nothing's really changed with that.
Yeah. Well, I have so many more questions about Coach's Cup and like the consolation matchups, but we kept the girls waiting long enough.
Yes.
And we're going to get to them next after this. Josh Mell, the Freehold Borough AD and the director of the Shore Conference Boys Soccer Tournament. Thanks for your time. And we'll be talking plenty about this over the next 11 months, I think.
A lot of time.
Go get them. Thanks, Josh.
Thanks.
The right way to top a sub is with real red wine vinegar made from red grapes and no food coloring. And the right way to film it is in slow motion. Obviously. Because authentic ingredients make a sub above.
So check it. So many people come into the recovery lounge here and actually ask, what's the big difference between the infrared sauna and the traditional sauna that's sitting behind me here? There's really not a humongous difference in the actual benefits. It's really within the experience. So the infrared sauna is going to be a lot milder of a heat. You're going to be able to sit in there, converse with your friends, converse with whoever's sitting next to you. Where in the traditional sauna, it's going to be a lot more of an intense heat. It might almost feel like you're getting put through a workout. You might actually be out of breath and reducing the fact that you might not be talking with that person next to you. So with the benefits though, you're gonna have a lot of similarities. You're gonna have improved athletic recovery, a big one, improved cardiovascular health, improved stress, improved skin, and anti-aging benefits. While the experience may be different between these two saunas, the benefits are similar. The choice is yours.
We are back with Nick Lowe, who came on with us this year, and he's been covering girls soccer, doing a phenomenal job going out to those games. He's been teaching me a lot about soccer. I'll admit I'm not a soccer guy, but he's been a good resource for Shore Sports Network, and he's been on the beat for a little bit. Before we roll into the groups, I did forget one sponsor that is involved with soccer, and that is Surf Taco. We do our team of the week through Surf Taco, and they've been wonderful as well. They said, we won't do boys team of the week unless we do girls team of the week. So they are definitely on par with some of our philosophies of what we are moving forward, because we want to definitely be inclusive in that sense. So on to the girls groups. Here we go. The girls group A. Pulling the 1 seed are the Red Bank Catholic Caseys, followed by the Brick Memorial Mustangs, the Marlboro Mustangs, Donovan Catholic Griffins, and the Keyport Red Raiders. Nick, what's your thoughts?
Well, right away, we got a rematch of the Red Bank Catholic Caseys and the Brick Memorial Mustangs. They both finished 1-2 this past season in their group play for the Shore Conference tournament. Red Bank Catholic won 2-1 in that game. Brick Memorial finished second. And that's what stands out right away. And Marlboro, even though they got the second seed in Group 2 this past year, they actually finished tied with Toms River North. So another very competitive, like right off the bat, that's a very competitive bracket.
All right, moving on. We've got girls Group B. Leading off with the Jackson Memorial Jaguars, followed by the Colts Neck Cougars, the Toms River East Raiders, Monmouth Regional Falcons, and the Ranny Panthers.
Jackson Memorial. Actually, I think, yeah, Jackson Memorial and Colts Neck. They were both in the same group this year. Jackson Memorial won. Colts Neck finished second in the group. So pretty funny that the first two groups we're looking at, both the 1 and 2s are exactly the same. Toms River East, they got into the tournament this year by defeating Ocean. This is a pretty competitive group. Monmouth Regional, one of the best seasons they've had in a long time, 11 wins this season. And, Rainey is, they're still rebuilding, building a program over there. But competitive group, it's just funny that you're looking at the top two teams again.
Definitely. All right, so moving on, we've got girls Group C. Leading off with the Central Regional Golden Eagles, who've been pretty dominant all this year. So we'll see how they are next year. Then the Rumson Fairhaven Bulldogs, the newcomers of the New Egypt Warriors, Matawan Huskies, and the Long Branch Grain Wave. How's this group looking there?
Well, Central is losing a couple key seniors. So it'll be interesting how they can make up that scoring that they're losing. Rumson is always competitive every year. New Egypt, if you look at the PowerPoints, comes in par with Shore Regional. So obviously I don't know much about New Egypt being outside the Shore Conference. And Matawan, Long Branch, two similar teams. So this is an interesting bracket just because with kids graduating, it's up for grabs.
Yeah, it seems like from when we talked with Matt, Central Regional was the 2 seed there, 1 seed in the girls. They just have a good soccer program, so they just rebuild year in. So I think they'll be all right going next year. Yeah. All right, moving on, we've got girls Group D. Leading off with the Manalapan Braves, the St. Johnny Vianney Lancers, the Shore Regional Blue Devils, the Barnegat Bengals, and the Neptune Scarlet Flyers.
Well, obviously, right away, Manalapan, very good team. They're bringing back a good portion of their team. They do graduate a couple key seniors.
Big win this year they had.
They had a very big win, and they're hoping, they got a big game tomorrow against Monroe, hoping to get back to the Central Jersey Group 4 finals. SJV, always tough. They do graduate a good portion of their starting lineup. Shore Regional, a younger team, I would say you would see them compete for one of the top spots in that group. Barnegat, also another young team that I expect to see a big improvement next season.
All right, moving on. We've got girls Group E. Number 1 seed is the Howell Rebels, followed by the Lacey Lions, the Red Bank Bucks, Freehold Borough Colonials, and the Pinelands Wildcats.
Obviously, Howell, big game tomorrow against Freehold for the semifinal, Central Jersey Group 4. I would say probably front runner. They do graduate a couple key pieces, but they also bring a lot of key pieces back. Lacey is also bringing back all their scoring, so they're another tough team in that group. RBR graduating a lot of kids this year, and Freehold Pinelands, Freehold, the best, their goalie is coming back, so it's an interesting group. A lot of graduation with the the 1 seed and the 3 and the 3 seed, so it's up in the air.
All right, we got girls Group F. The number 1 seed are the Manasquan Warriors, followed by Toms River North Mariners, Ocean Township Spartans, the St. Rose Purple Roses, and the Lakewood Piners.
Now, everybody knows the great season Manasquan's having this season. Went to the semifinals of the Shore Conference Tournament for the first time in school history. They do graduate a lot of the starting lineup. Toms River North, which has always been a powerhouse in the Shore. You've seen a kind of shift in Toms River, though. Ocean's a team that it would not surprise me they come out of Group F next season.
All right, moving on. We've got Group G. Leading off with the Point Borough Panthers, the Trinity Hall Monarchs, the Point Beach Garnet Gulls, Homedale Hornets, and the Southern Regional Rams.
Potential to be a very exciting group right there. Point Borough, brings back a good portion of the team. Trinity Hall as well. Trinity Hall is playing in the non-public South Jersey non-public A semifinals against RBC on Friday. Point Beach also bringing back majority of their team next season. So it's a very exciting group. Homedale, 2 big upsets to start the state tournament. So they could feed off that going into next season as well.
All right, moving on. We've got girls soccer Group H. Number 1 seed, the Freehold Township Patriots, then the Wall Knights, Manchester Hawks, the Brick Dragons, and the Raritan Rockets.
Right off the top, Freehold and Wall, looking ahead to next season, I would say both starting the season in the top 5 in the Shore Conference. Freehold, people are going to say, is their run starting in the end? They're graduating a couple key pieces this year.
Who's Freehold bringing back next year out of this core group?
Danielle Howard is coming back. To me, not getting the recognition she should have this season. Really picked up the pace when Haley Santiago got injured. She'll be back. Ashley Moore, the goalie, coming back. She'll be a senior, 4-year starter. Hasn't missed a game in that. So having that kind of experience in that is always big.
All right, and then the last group for girls soccer, we've got Group I, with the 1 seed being the Middletown South Eagles, followed by the Toms River South Indians, the Middletown North Lions, the Jackson Liberty Lions, and the Asbury Park Blue Bishops.
Now, the top 3 teams in this group graduate some key players, but they also are bringing back a lot of key players. Middletown South winning their first ever Shore Conference tournament. Toms River South has a nice mixture, some young talent that got significant playing time this year. Middletown North, similar, they're graduating a couple key pieces, but Jamie Melanda, their stud there, is going to be a senior next year.
Awesome. So that rounds out for the girls soccer groups for next year. And before we bounce out of here, just give me a quick rundown of what we're looking at for the rest of the way with the playoffs currently underway.
All right, big day tomorrow. We'll start in South Jersey Group 1. Both Point Beach is playing and Shore Regional is playing in Group 1. Shore Regional, I think, has a 6:30 game, and I don't know what time Point Beach is playing. But a potential matchup again. Those 2 teams always seem to meet in Central Jersey Group 1, whether it's the semifinals or the finals. So hopefully we get lucky enough and 2 Shore teams meet in the finals for Central Jersey Group 1. Group 2. 4 Shore teams in the semifinals. You have Rumson traveling to Manasquan tomorrow, and Homedale traveling to Wall. Homedale's can they keep this run going after beating the 1 seed and the 8 seed? And Wall just had a big win against Point Borough as the 5 seed. So, Group 3, we have Middletown South, the defending champions for Central Jersey Group 3, as the 1 seed. And they Brick Memorial is the 3 seed, has a home game. The 2 seed got upset last round. They met last year, both teams, in the group finals. It could be, hopefully we can get a rematch again of Middletown South versus Brick Memorial. And Group 4, you have Manalapan playing Monroe at 5 o'clock. The earlier game, Freehold versus Howell. Teams know each other very well. Freehold, obviously, defending Group 4 champions, want to get back there. And Manalapan lost dramatic fashion last year to Freehold in the finals. They want to get back and show, prove what they did earlier this season was not a fluke. And in non-public A for South Jersey, you got RBC playing Trinity Hall, the 2 and the 3 seed on Friday. St. John Vianney defeated the number 1 seed yesterday, Notre Dame. So they're still in contention as, I don't know what seed, apologize, don't know what seed St. John Vianney is. But they're in contention, and hopefully obviously we're going to get a Shore team on the bottom of the bracket. St. John Vianney could keep their run. We could get an all-Shore final for South Jersey non-public A.
So out of all these groups, do we have who are your favorites to actually hang a banner, be a sectional finalist?
We can't forget Central Regional, South Jersey Group 4. They are a favorite with number 1 Eastern being knocked off. So I believe they're very good chances, obviously, the way they've been playing all season. It's really tough. I would think Freehold, I could see Freehold will be the team raising the banner in Central Jersey Group 4. Brooklyn Memorial, Middletown South. Middletown South is probably the hottest team in the Shore Conference right now, especially the run they had in the Shore Conference tournament. But if Brick's playing their game, they're tough to beat too. So I would say that's a 50-50 game right there. And in Central Jersey Group 2, Wall is a very complete team all over the field. They do have a 2-0 victory against Manasquan, but you can't count Rumson out. Keenan in the back line, going to Northwestern, leads that team from the back. Katie Walls, the goalie, senior goalie, a lot of experience. So it's really that's how good the Shore Conference is. The teams are so competitive.
Gotcha. All right. So wrapping it up, I really appreciate you guys tuning in and listening to Matt ramble on for a while about boys soccer. If you were waiting for the girls, he's throwing me some signs up. And overall, follow us on Instagram at Shore Sports Network, on Twitter at Shore Sports Net. Not enough characters for network. But we've got Matt Manley on soccer. We've on boys soccer. We've got Nick Lowe on girls soccer. We've got Bob Batters on football. We got Scott Stump back in the house for football. We've got John Corelli on volleyball right now. So there's a lot going on at the Shore Sports Network. So you can always check us out at shoresportsnetwork.com, download our app, and stay tuned in the coming months for a brand new website launch with a lot more features and functionality, and it's going to be awesome. So stick with us with Shore Sports Network. Signing off. I'm Scott Martin. This is Nick Lowe, Matt Manley in the hall, Josh Mell in the hall. See you guys later.